Nintendo and Illumination have done it again. This movie was far from perfect. It's honestly, I enjoyed it more than the first movie, and that's kind of saying a lot considering how nitpicky I am with this stuff. To nobody's surprise, the critics were wrong once again, but it does seem to be a little more divided on critics and fans. Well, not fans per se, but like the general populace tend to agree with the critics a little more this time around. And I'm not gonna lie, I can see where they're coming from, but as a Nintendo/Mario fan, maybe it's my biasy here. I think it straight up probably is my biasy, honestly. But if you are a Nintendo fan, there's no denying that you're gonna enjoy this movie. Well, you know what? Maybe not entirely true. I've heard some major Nintendo fans hate on it, and again, I can see where they're coming from. But as just like a dumb, turn your brain off kind of fan film, they did a fantastic job here. Now, I do want to point out, I'm being mildly hypocritical here, because to those who watch my stuff regularly, know I am very much one to point out, I hate when people glaze a film to an extreme degree, just because of how pretty it looks. Like, this is a bit of a hot take. I know a lot of people disagree with this statement, but just straight up, the first Spider-Verse movie is one of the most visually appealing films out there, specifically animated, of course, but nonetheless, I think where it falls apart is its storytelling. It feels incredibly generic for a multiversal story. I don't hate it, but I don't think it deserves this insane glaze that a lot of people love to give it. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm being hypocritical with the Mario movie. It has this amazing, every second is a piece of eye candy. You are being pulled in at all times, because a lot of people are comparing this movie to Jingling Keys, and I think that's a great example, honestly. It's really shiny, colorful, jingly keys that is just fun to look at. And that's where I'm going to sit here and acknowledge my hypocrisy with that. Because this film, the story is a nightmare. Not a nightmare, it's just incredibly bare bones. It is not a very well written story. I mean, that's just kind of what they all feel like nowadays, let's be real. It's like the TikTok of storytelling. It is whiplashing you from one place to the next. It's so you don't get a second to breathe. Anytime they have a moment that is trying to make you feel things, they're just going to snap your neck right next to the next scene before you even get a second to feel the feeling they're trying to convey to you. I don't want to go too deep into it because this is the non-spoiler segment of the review. I just want to say that anytime Mario and Peach do have a moment together, which is incredibly little, it is not as much as they should be. Anytime they're like, oh, you should totally be feeling this moment, Mario clearly has feelings for this character, for Peach, and Peach is kind of showing the same things, but then you don't get to enjoy the moment that the characters are supposed to be having, because they just feel the need to snap right next to the next thing. I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Let's talk about the new voice actors. At first, everyone made a big deal about how awful the casting was. Besides Bowser, no one really agreed. I think some people like Charlie Day as Luigi, but most people were not impressed with the voice casting initially. I could see where people were coming from with Chris Pratt as Mario, but no, I genuinely think he's a great Mario now. It just feels right for some reason. I know that's not a popular opinion, but I don't care. He seems fitting. And the rest of the cast, Bowser and Jack Black does great as Bowser. Anya Taylor-Joy, she's a little flat here and there, but I think she did better this time than the first movie. Toad, I mean, with how little he was actually active in the film, with how few lines he had, he was still good. He did his voice lines were good. Donald Glover being the voice of Yoshi, he did a great job. Celebrity voices, they just straight up suck 90% of the time, but no, he killed it. Though Yoshi doesn't really have a lot to say, when he conveyed emotions, it did the job well enough. And then there was Bowser Jr. I did not care for the voice of Bowser Jr. I'm brain farting on his name. I believe it was Benny Sabel or something like that. I don't know celebrities. Sorry, I don't care about them. But I don't know. I watched the movie twice. So my first time around, did not care for it. Second time, it was starting to kind of sit with me. I was like, I can get behind this. Still not the voice I would have chosen for Bowser Jr., but it was fine. I think those were the two main guys, the two new additions. Oh, you know what? Brie Larson. She had an incredibly small amount of lines as well, but I mean, she did good. I liked her. I didn't hate her. I thought she was going to be kind of stale as Rosalina, but no. She cared about the role she was doing, and she expressed proper emotion through the character with what she was given, at least. And that's kind of where I want to jump into the next thing. I was saying earlier that this movie is the equivalent of colorful jingling the keys in front of the baby type deal. And I can't deny that fact, But this animation is just like, you do not want to miss a second of it. Looking away, you feel like you're missing a huge part of the film. Nintendo's philosophy with Mario, or at least specifically Miyamoto's philosophy, is that gameplay is number one. And unfortunately, I think that philosophy has kind of leaked into the films to where the story is so just a nothing burger, but everything else, with the animation to the references to the world itself, that's the equivalent of the gameplay for a movie. That doesn't really work great with a movie format, because you're watching a movie for the story, not just the visual storytelling, or not just for the animation and the visuals of it all. Of course, it's a visual medium, but visuals can only take a film so far, because you're there to see a story told to you. And when you are not able to be engrossed in that story because they are taking you everywhere, it's hard to appreciate what's being showed to you. References were so genuinely well thought out for this entire film. Like, you know how with a lot of video game movies, they'll just sit there and like, oh, we'll play a sound effect here, or we'll like have a character in the background in there, or we'll like implement a game mechanic, but when they do, it's so just unnatural and it feels stupid and out of place. They kill it with the way the references are handled here, to where it is just built into this world and you don't think anything about it. It's just like, yep, that's Mario's world, all right. I can't go into further depth about that because of how well it's done. I would have to specify what they do exactly, but those who've seen the movie, near the end during the battle sequences, oh my gosh, it is crazy what they do with the references to some more modern games I wasn't expecting to see, which was pretty cool. And it's Mario Galaxy, so it has to have amazing music, and they did not hold back. With the first movie, you know how they kind of slapped in some crappy pop culture songs in there during the Donkey Kong kart scene, to where they played Take On Me? I think it was Take On Me. Anyways, it was when Mario, Peach, Toad, and were being picked up by this one Kong, and they were driving down this area, and it was such an unfitting song. And then the composer, I believe, I'm talking out of my butt here, but the guy who made the music, our first movie, he was like, hey, this is the song that was supposed to play here, but it got swapped over. And then everyone's like, holy crap, this is so much better. Why did they change it? And that we don't have this issue in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Like, they do one pop culture song, and it's perfectly fine how they use it. It's used in a very appropriate place. You would not think anything of it. It's funny. It's a good addition. If they used any real-world music in this movie anywhere else, it would have been out of place and just stupid, but they didn't. It was all orchestral. It was all very Mario music, and it was implemented amazingly. Let's kind of jump into outside of just the visuals and the audible parts of it, more directly about the film itself. The comedy was fine. I laughed a few times, but even when I sat there and laughed at moments, I was like, oh, that was kind of stupid, wasn't it? I acknowledge that I laughed at a dumb joke. Just because it's a dumb joke doesn't inherently make it a bad joke. And that's kind of the whole film. Leaning into the character dialogue, aside from jokes, when they do have moments that they are trying to make you feel something or push the story forward, they do a pretty decent job. Like at the very beginning, this isn't really a spoiler, this is just kind of laying the groundwork for the film. They have a moment with Mario and Peach, where I'm like, you know what? I really like the dynamic they got going on. They try to push past than just like, this is Princess Peach, this is Mario. And like, let's be real here, they're not exactly one-to-one representations of their video game counterparts. Peach is not really Princess Peach from the video games, and Mario's not much of Mario from the video games either. There's elements of them there, but they're not working with a lot in the first place, so give them a little leeway. Nonetheless, when they do flesh out these characters, even if it's for a split second before they snap right back into the action, I keep using snap effect a lot here, but it really describes this film. It's just constantly throwing you to the next thing. But when they do have those little moments, I'm like, okay, I liked it. One of my major complaints about the first film is how they just throw Luigi away. Like, he's not a character in that film. Even though it's called the Super Mario Bros. Movie, he's there, but not really. Anyone who's seen it knows what I'm talking about. They do better about that here. I don't want to jump into it. He's not like this super prevalent character, but I mean, he's at least a part of the main plot going forward, which is a big plus. I can't go any further about this film without spoiling it, so this is your cutoff point. If you haven't seen the movie, go watch it and then come back to this video, because I'm going to be talking about spoilers heavy here, and then I'm going to talk about the predictions I made from reviewing the first movie, and then I'm going to talk about predictions about the next Mario movie. So go watch the movie and then come back here and you can see what I have to say next here. So on to spoilers. I find it really funny, considering how much Nintendo is so adamant about, at least in North America specifically, they are so adamant about not shipping Mario and Peach. In recent years, they are constantly pushing that Mario and Peach are specifically just very good friends, no romantic relationship ever. But in the movies, it's quite the opposite. It's funny. Like, every joke coming out of Luigi's mouth throughout the film, it feels like, was just poking fun at Mario about how he likes Peach in one way or another, and it's really funny. That was something I like surprisingly a lot about the movie. I'm hoping they push forward and they don't, like, hug back from that after seeing how much it's done in the second film. I hope they continue to push it forward for the next few films and actually give a payoff. I doubt they will, but it would be cool. It's kind of funny because when you're watching a video game movie, you know how a lot of them, like, they think storytelling can be replaced with references, and that's kind of this whole movie shtick, is like storytelling has been completely put aside for how many cool references can we put in there. Like, oh, I remember, member berries? That's this whole film. I was talking earlier about the end battle scene. They do this whole segment to where it's a Mario Maker moment to where Bowser Jr. is trying to kill Peach and Mario while they're going through an obstacle course that he set up, and you get to see the pixel art, and he's like down items, and it's very clearly Mario Maker reminiscent. And it, like, this whole film, the way they implement references into it is done exactly like that. It's so funny when the Luma comes to Peach asking for her help to save Rosalina. The Luma turns into the star, I'm forgetting what it's called, but the star transporter thing that the Mario jumps into to spin off and fly to the next area. It just transforms into that without even telling the viewer at all what that means. Toad and Peach just jump right in there and they fly off into the galaxy. And it's so, like, if you don't know Mario Galaxy or Mario at all, you're so confused there. It's goofy, and that's kind of where the references, they do clash with the storytelling. I feel like if I didn't know anything about Mario, I would just have to accept that fact, and it would be weird to see that play out, That's kind of where the film falls into a section to where it's like, this reference or is this slop? And slop is such an overused term, but nonetheless, it's a good descriptor of reference slop, but it's done right in a lot of ways. I'm very on the fence because I like all the references were really fun, but it sacrificed the story. So was it worth the references? It's a matter of balancing the two. And this film doesn't do great at that, but at the same time, the references are so well done, it's hard not to appreciate them. So leading up to the movie's reveal, Nintendo thought it'd be a really cool idea to just randomly drop on us, hey, Fox McCloud is going to be in the freaking Mario Galaxy movie. Yeah, that's freaking sick and all, but you know how awesome it would have been to actually gone to the theater and not know jack squat about that? It was so disappointing to see Nintendo just casually like, hey, Fox McCloud's going to be in this, by the way. I hope you guys are excited. At the time of this movie coming out, it has not had a video game come out, like just a standalone. Yeah, there was Starlink on the Switch in like 2017, but has not had a standalone game in over a decade at this point, I believe. So who were they thinking this was going to pull people in? It wouldn't bring in kids because they're like, who the frick is Fox McCloud other than the guy from Smash Bros, So it drives me nuts that they promoted him. But anyways, besides that, the way he was used in it, I loved it. It was so much fun. Like, I thought, oh, they brought him in. It was going to be a cool thing. No, they do this whole, like, anime sequence, and it's so flashy and just visually appealing. I don't know if it was actually 2D animated. It probably was. But it looked 2D animated, and it looked awesome. Fox was used surprisingly well for the most part. I didn't care for his personality. I believe Glenn Powell, I hope I'm saying his name right, Powell, he voiced Fox. Don't know the guy, don't really know anything he's been in, but he fit pretty well. He was a good choice for Fox. I'm hoping if we get a Fox McCloud movie, it's gonna be him voicing him. It'd be weird if they didn't at that point, but nonetheless. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. The way Fox is implemented, he's, again, with the rest of the film, every complaint about this film is the pacing, mainly. He gets no chance. Like, it's so funny because I have this moment where Mario and Fox are introduced because Peach is like, look, Mario, this is Fox. He's helping us. And Mario and him both stare each other down like they're supposed to be a rival. Like, for some reason, Peach likes Fox and Mario's jealous of it. It gets introduced. Like, they have this stare down for like half a second. And then it's just like, oh, that's pretty sick. And then they brush it off like a like it was kind of funny. Like, it was supposed to be like, are we about to get a Smash Bros moment? That would be freaking sick. But no, it was brushed off to the side real quick. It was subverting your expectations with the way they were acting. But At the same time, it would have been kind of cool to see that play out a little more. But with how little time was spent with these characters interacting, it's understandable why it didn't happen. The biggest issue I had with Fox, besides the pacing, was his personality did not really show. He was more of a goofball, and yeah, that fits the tone of the film and all. But, you know, it's a little disappointing to see Fox's personality swept under the rug so they can tell some unfunny jokes with it. Or some mildly funny joke at best. So let's get into the real spoilers. A major plot point, like one of the few plot points in this actual movie, the audience figures it out way sooner than the main characters do. Like, it's so obviously told you up front without the main characters ever knowing. But anyways, Peach ends up being Rosalina's long-lost sister for some weird reason. And I don't mind them doing some changes, you know, but the way they do it is weird. And I don't inherently dislike it. It's kind of funny because I know Matt Pat over at Game Theory did a video a long time ago talking about how Rosalina was Peach's mom, and it makes me wonder, did they take that idea from Matt Pat's Game Theory video and just flesh it out into this film's basically Peach's canon? Like, that's weird. It's interesting. I doubt they'll do much with it, honestly, but there's potential. With Peach being Rosalina's long-lost sister, it is weird that Rosalina's kind of introduced at the beginning, like a plot point, and that's it. For a Mario Galaxy movie, there's barely any Mario Galaxy in this movie. It's so weird. They probably could have gotten away with just calling it Super Mario Bros. Movie 2 or Super Mario Bros. 2 the movie, whatever. There just wasn't a lot of Galaxy in it. It's just a strange set of... I don't know what they were thinking, honestly. It was just a weird situation across the board with the way they marketed this film, because obviously Mario Galaxy is like one of the most popular movies in the franchise. Of course, they're wanting to use that. And they really could have just used a lot more Rosalina. That's what I want to just say. It's weird how little Rosalina was actually in. Granted, I think because she's so overpowered, that's probably why she wasn't in it as much. But it is weird. And that's where I want to get into criticisms. There's quite a few. Like, again, I really enjoy this movie. Still think it's better than the first one. But there's a lot of problems with it that just can't be avoided. I'll try and go in chronological order here. I'm throwing these all at the window, basically. But first off, Bowser's captured from the first movie, right? He's tiny. He's with Mario and Luigi and Yoshi and Toad for the most part. Well, kind of. Like, once the adventure starts to actually pick up. The whole time, like, the way I was seeing it, they tried to portray Bowser like is supposed to be trying to trick Mario and Luigi that he is reformed, but then when they actually free him, like, they have this whole moment to where Bowser is trying to antagonize Mario to hurt him so he'll lose the mini shroom power up and grow big again. And it's really dumb, and like, it calls him a bad plumber, and for some reason that just blows Mario's lid and makes him just pissed and stomps Bowser to like an extremely aggressive degree. It's pretty funny, but weird in the sense of how it's handled, because the whole time you're thinking like Bowser's actually like clearly faking it. He's just saying all these things. He's like stuff Luigi because Luigi's more gullible and Mario clearly hates him more type deal. But then as it goes, you're expecting him to do this reverse trick on him. And then no, he's like on their side. And you're like, you know, okay, subverted expectations again. So I'll accept it. But then once Bowser Jr. finally saves him, well, I don't want to get into all that, but once Bowser Jr. saves him from the beehive mines or whatever, like, he just reverts instantly. Takes no convincing at all. Bowser Jr.'s just, friends suck. What are you talking about? You told me that. He's like, oh yeah, you're right. And then he immediately flips on him. Whatever, you know, of course Bowser has to turn bad again. It all comes back to the poor pacing of this film. The lead up was stupid because he was convincing Bowser Jr. not to kill Mario and Luigi in them. But never mind, I decided I'm going to kill them myself now. And I don't know. It's dumb. The best way I can really put this film is like, because throughout this entire video, I've said that the pacing just hurts it so much. Nothing essentially matters, because like, they're just slopping all this stuff in front of you to where I feel like I've been complaining this whole video, and I promise I really did enjoy this movie. It's like, I do think it's better than the first one, but there's so many blatant flaws. I saw it once with family, and then I saw it a second time with a bunch of friends, and like, everyone else, no one's as much of all the people I hang out with isn't as much of a Nintendo fan as I am. So hearing their secondary opinions on it and like seeing it from their point of view, yeah, 100% I can get behind why you think that. It makes perfect sense, because, you know, this is stupid and that was a dumb decision, but solely through your own lens, you know, like, you can kind of biases get through. It's a terrible criticism to say, oh, this movie was made for kids, so it's okay if it has a stupid story. No, that's genuinely idiotic. We've gotten some amazing films made for kids all the time. So it's stupid and lazy to just knock up your criticism to be, oh, it's made for kids, so it's fine if it has a crappy story and bad writing and fast paced to where it feels like you're scrolling through TikTok for an hour and a half. There comes a point to where, like, you can also have dumb fun, and that's all this movie is. Dumb Nintendo fanboy fun. While there's so many flaws within the dumb fanboy fun, you don't always have to expect this in-depth, crazy story. You can just have fun with the movie. That's all it needs to be, is fun. But again, I think the runtime, if they just stretched out the times, let these moments with these characters sit a little longer, have more individual dialogue with these characters, let them flesh out their experiences with each other, let them actually grow as characters, let us see that they have a connection to one another, not that they just live amongst each other in the world, but there's actually like, oh yeah, I care about this person because this and that, and they care about me because of that and this. It's just, they don't do that at all. You just have to make these assumptions based off of knowing these characters previously, because they are pre-established characters, but then they also try and make this own canon lore that's not canon to the games, so having these pre-established things does not matter in the end because they're contradicting them at times. It's going all over the place. I'm not very well organized in my thoughts here, but it's a fun film. If you want to watch it with your family, you're not going to have a bad time. Even just visually speaking, if you can appreciate animation as an art form, you'll love it for that alone. If not that, if you're a Nintendo fan who doesn't care about animation, you'll love it for the cameos of Star Fox and Pikmin and all the Mario references from 3D World to Maker to Galaxy to... I'm sure there's other ones in there I'm brain farting on all of a sudden. There is stuff to enjoy about this movie. I would say there's far more to enjoy about it than there is to hate about it. But if we're obviously getting a third film. There's no doubt in my mind that we're getting a third film. So because of that, I hope they take these criticisms that people are giving and willing to, I'm sure this movie's going to make $1 billion. It's Mario. Just because it makes $1 billion doesn't mean you can't improve your writing capability. And I hope they don't. I hope they take the criticisms of the fast pace and the lack of story a little more seriously. Don't just ignore it because you'll make $1 billion their way. They clearly care. There is heart put into this by Illumination and Nintendo. Like, just slapping this crap together because they know it's making $1 billion. Because they could just make a dumpster fire and it would probably still roughly make $1 billion. But they clearly care, so I'm hoping they're willing to let people criticize them and then them actually put effort into the criticism that they get, improve upon it. Let's see the stories expand and characters actually be more than cardboard cutouts of what these characters could be. Let's cut the crap. Let's get to the predictions. Specifically, the predictions I made about when I reviewed the first movie. And I was not close. I was not close at all. Kind of, actually. So, with the first movie, the end credits have Yoshi, his egg cracking open. That's literally it. Obviously, you would think there'd be a bit more. It's like, oh, okay, it may go into Super Mario World. But I think it was probably pretty obvious. I don't think it was the right decision, but it was pretty obvious. When Peach was talking about in the Fire Flower fields with Mario and Toad, and she was talking about how there's so many galaxies out there, and she doesn't really know where she's from, it was blatantly obvious, at least to me. Apparently, a lot of people, it blew their minds. But it was obvious that Mario Galaxy was going to be the next plot point, or the next movie. Maybe not the next movie. I said it was going to be the next movie, but it could have easily been the third movie as well. I think it would have made more sense for it to be the third movie, because jumping from base Mario Bros. To Galaxy is a huge jump in expectations. I don't know what they were thinking there. On to the next prediction I made. I was talking about how the real world, with the final battle of the first movie, they had the real world, I believe it was the Bonsai Bill, blasted into the warp pipe and exploded, and causing it to suck in a ton of Mario's world into Brooklyn. I was like, oh, maybe the real world, quote unquote the real world, Brooklyn was going to have more of an impact on Mario's world, or maybe Mario's family was going to come to the Mushroom Kingdom. And it was like, that seems kind of obvious, right? Like, maybe they'll have Koopas. They had Donkey Kong in Mario's world at the end. They were just doing a stupid Donkey Kong arcade game reference because he was on the steel beams or whatever. But yeah, my main thought was that they were just going to bring in the real world, affect it in some way, have it more impactful into the second film. I was very wrong about that. I'm glad I was wrong about that, because it just wasn't a good idea. But, I think with Illumination and Hollywood as a whole, you can never tell how they're going to screw up the next entry into a video game film. And with the final prediction, I thought that Wario and Waluigi were going to come in as like counterparts to Mario and Luigi's plumbing business, because they were going to see that, oh, Mario and Luigi saved the world, so now New York hires them as plumbers all the time. And then they were going to make a counter plumber, a plumber business to fight against them, and they were jealous that Mario and Luigi were doing better than them because of them saving the world and all that. So they basically kidnap Peach, or they do something to antagonize Mario and Luigi for the next movie. I was very wrong in that aspect, obviously, because they didn't even show up in the Galaxy film at all. They weren't even teased. But I did mention that Daisy was coming, and technically I was right, because she was shown in the end credits of the Mario Galaxy movie. She didn't have a major role at all, but she's at least coming in the third film, and she was in the end credits. So I'll take that. I got 2 out of 3 right. That's pretty good, I'd say. Now on to the third Mario movie predictions. I think a big one, I really do think it's a long shot. Considering we went from the first Mario movie all the way to Galaxy, I really don't know where we could go from there without it being like, feel like we're treading old ground, or, you know, something a little less interesting, because usually when you go to space, that's kind of like the third send-off film. I'm not saying the third movie is going to be the final Mario movie. If it makes $1 billion, we're going to keep getting Mario movies. It's safe to say we're going to get something, like they could follow Odyssey. Odyssey would be the next big thing, but we've already got bits and pieces of Odyssey from the first 2 movies. So I'm thinking, because Fox McCloud came into the third movie, I think we could start seeing either remnants of a Smash Bros. Movie coming in. Like, I know everyone's saying that. That's the obvious thing. With the way the film ended, Star Fox was able to go back to his universe. Rosalina was able to fix his R-Wing so he could travel back to his universe. But that means that he's probably able to come back and forth between universes, which means it does leave open a door of a Smash Bros. Type situation occurring. I'm not saying that is what would happen, but it is, I think it would make sense for them to go that direction. Because they're already jumping the gun so early on into these movies, they may not have much steam for a third film outside of going to the extreme like that. I mean, the fact that they brought in Pikmin and Star Fox for this movie, kind of crazy. That one's a bit too ambitious, so let's kind of reel it back a little bit. With Bowser Jr. and Bowser both being imprisoned, I think the next obvious step, because like, who's going to save them from that? It'd be lame if it was just Kamek, right? So I think while this may be introducing a lot of characters at once, it could be the Koopalings, like Iggy, and I'm forgetting all their other names all of a sudden. I believe they're Bowser's nephews. I don't remember the family relation. Nonetheless, I think that's the next obvious step for them to go in the Mario universe sake. Like, maybe they're not going to jump directly into Smash Bros. Maybe that's a spin-off type deal, whatever. Ignore that. That was just the first one I threw out. But I think the Koopalings is the next obvious step for them to go. Because in Mario Odyssey, you know how they have those, I forget what they're called, but the ugly rabbits, I hated those character designs, by the way, but those ugly rabbit enemy types, they were like the main guys in Mario Odyssey, they could replace them as the main bad guys for the next movie. And because they're not exactly adamant about telling a great story in the first place, they could probably get away with doing something like that, to where they have a, they're just trying to get them to go from world to world to world in the next movie. So having 7 Koopalings would be perfect for that, because they can just show off more of the Mario universe. While I don't think that's the best route they could take, I think the Koopalings are almost... There's the only other thing I could think that they could do is bring in Wario and Waluigi. And again, because Daisy's being introduced through the next movie, I think that's a very good possibility. Daisy being there basically brings in Wario and Waluigi, because Waluigi and Daisy are both heavy used in spin-offs almost exclusively. Until Mario Wonder, I don't think Daisy's ever been used in a mainline Mario game. She was in Mario Land, but I think that's technically a spin-off too, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I'm pretty sure that's a spin-off. It was a Game Boy game, so most people don't consider that mainline, but though New Super Mario Bros. On the DS was mainline, so I don't know. No one cares about mainline with Mario. They're all Mario games. Anyways, so yeah, maybe Wario and Waluigi could spring Bowser and Bowser Jr. out of jail. I think it'd be a little silly, but Koopalings or Wario and Waluigi. Those are my guesses. They could also do Kamek. I think that'd be boring, but it's not out of the question. Because like I said earlier, how I don't think they're going to lean into Mario Odyssey. That would sound cool in a story, like as a title, Super Mario Odyssey, the movie. That sounds sick. Odyssey is just a cool word. But I don't know if they'd want to jump into that. They could do an all original thing. I don't think they would do that, because that would kind of ruin the whole thing they like to do with references and bringing people in by recognizable names. So more than likely, I think Odyssey is the next big one. Though, I think that would be way more interesting is if they went the spin-off route. I'm talking like Super Mario RPG, Paper Mario, I don't know, Mario Sports Mix, something like that, you know? Like, let's go weird with it. Maybe they could do a Mario Kart movie. Yeah, we've gotten kart racing in the previous films already. That's just kind of intertwined with Mario core. But they could do like a thing to where Mario has to save someone through winning a kart racing tournament or something like that. Like, kart racing storylines could very easily be done. I don't know if that'd be the best route, but I mean, Mario Kart is one of the most recognized video game IPs in the world. So I think it'd be a little weird if they didn't want to market off that a little bit. But yeah, I think doing a spinoff, something along those lines, I think would be the best route. Mario Kart, tennis, doing a Mario Sports Mix movie would be pretty funny, actually, because then they could cover all kinds of grounds. They could do tennis, golf, baseball, soccer. Okay, genuinely, if they did it in the Mario Strikers style, I would 100% go see a Mario Strikers movie. How sick would that be? I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to do something different, kind of bring in new elements, I really think jumping into the spin-offs could be the most interesting thing they could do. That doesn't mean they'll do it. To summarize my major predictions, I'm thinking they're either going to go the Smash Bros. Route, they're going to bring in the Koopalings or Wario to save Bowser, and then they're going to either do a spin-off type situation to where they're going to do RPG, Paper Mario, or maybe Mario Kart or one of the sports spin-offs. And if not that, Odyssey is probably the next obvious thing they're going to. That's what I predict. I'm hoping I get at least one of these right. Maybe not even have the spin-offs be a direct focus, but maybe they could have the film start out with like Mario playing tennis or golf or something like that. I feel like that's such an obvious thing. It's weird they haven't implemented that in some way. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the film, and that's what I see possibly being in the next movies. What do you think? You think I'm in the right? Is my opinion absolute crap? Let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you leave a like, share the video with other people who are on the fence about watching the film. You all have a good one, and make sure to make good decisions.